booties for black girl nerds.
I'm so excited to talk to you about Ties That Tether and the origin story of how this book came to be and learn a little bit more about you for our Black Girl Nerds audience. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. For Ties That Tether is a very compelling story. It explores cultural obligations and expectations, stepping outside and finding love, not necessarily within our own community, with someone else, merging Nigerian culture, and a whole lot of interesting topics kind of intertwined in the book. Tell me about those first times, those first drafts, and how the story came to be.
Well, the story came to be from my own life. My life greatly inspired the story. Um, and so the first drafts were pretty bad. It went through a lot of editing before it got to the where it is right now. I went through a mentorship program called Pitch Wars, where an author helped me to revamp my book. And so that was a huge help for me. So, yeah.
Was it always your intention to, when you thought of the trajectory of your life, did you always see yourself as an author, and was the path that you wanted to take in life?
Briefly in my life, at a brief moment, I thought that I would be an actress, but that didn't work out because I'm a horrible actress. Shortly after that, I realized that I love writing. So I I realized that when I was like the summer before I went to high school. So yes, I've loved writing ever since.
That's wonderful. So in Ties That Tether, we learn about, please pronounce, is it Azir or is it Aziri? Can you pronounce the character's name for me?
Azere.
Azeri, she finds love. She's on this path. Her family would prefer that she stayed within the Nigerian community for love, but as life takes its twists and turns, it doesn't always happen that way. And we go through an emotional spectrum, a journey with her to an
Hmm.
exciting conclusion. We won't say what that is because we want
Hmm.
people to read the book. Talk to me about the intersection of trying to live in your own modern realism versus the expectations your parents may have for you or Aziri's parents have for her, and trying to combine those worlds and live a whole life.
Well, I think as an immigrant myself, I've had to deal with what my mother expects from me, what my family expects from me. They expect me to be successful, to have a good career, to go to university and all that. They also expect me to eventually be with someone who's just like me, who's just like them, who's Nigerian, because it does simplify things. And that's what Azere struggles with as well. But that coupled with what she wants herself, it's just really like two heads butting sometimes. You're in this country where it's different from back home, and you're trying to fit in with your friends. You're trying to figure out your own identity in this new country, while your parents are your family. They have certain expectations of you. So I've definitely had to struggle with that, and so has Azere. She did throughout the book.
With your own personal experience, I know the book is based on some of your own personal experiences. How closely is it mirroring your own personal experiences, and
Um,
what does your family think of the book now, because it's a very interesting topic, especially since it's influenced by your own life and experience.
yeah, my mother read the book when it was released, and I really didn't want her to, but she did, mostly because of the sex scene. But she did read it, and she read it twice, and um, she really loved it. And I think the book changed her perspective a lot about me dating outside of my race. And it gave her a better understanding. And she told me that if I decided to marry someone like Raphael, exactly like him, she would be perfectly fine with it. So,
Do you think it's still taboo? I mean, we see a number of Black men who marry outside their race, and I mean, it has always happened, but I think the spotlight is more so now when Black women marry outside of their race. Do you think it's still such a taboo thing? Because it seems like when Black women step out of their race, it's more critiqued than when Black men step out of their race to marry someone.
I completely agree with you. It is more critiqued when Black women do that. And honestly, I don't know why. I don't think it's something to be frowned upon if a man does it or if a woman does it. It just honestly depends on who you connect with, who you love. So I don't think one gender be should carry the weight of like people's objections more than another gender. It just makes no sense. You connect with who you connect with, and that's that.
Mhm. Absolutely. When the book was coming to a close, I'm sure you thought of many endings, endpoints. Why did you choose to end it? We won't say what happens in the end. Why did you think that was a good point to end? And how did you even map out what type of an arc you wanted to take with Azeri and Raphael and the other characters in the book? How did you put that together and create the blueprint for the book, I guess you could say?
Well, for me, it was very important to create a character who was flawed and who had room to grow. And so I really wanted a Zere. She has a lot of learning to do throughout the book, how to stand up for herself and how she wants to define herself and be confident with that definition. So I really wanted her to grow throughout the book. So that was a huge something I wanted to accomplish, a huge objective for me. The ending just kind of flowed. And are you talking about the prologue or how the book?
Like the very end, like the actual end.
Yeah. Um, epilogue, sorry. Well, I always watch like it's a happy ending, of course, because it's a romance. And so that's expected. But whenever I watch romantic movies, because just like Azeri, I love romantic movies. Whenever I watch them, it ends just when the the man and the woman, the love interest kiss. And I'm like, but I want more. I want to know what happens down the line. Do they stay together? So I personally gave readers what I hardly ever get when I read a book or watch a movie. And I kind of prolonged that happy ending so they saw a bit into their future. And they left the book confident that the characters were okay and they will be okay.
I'm a huge fan of speaking things into existence. And with your early desires of wanting to be an actress, and now fast forward to writing and completing a novel, have you thought about what it would be like to adapt this, say, for a movie? Or have you started
Mhm.
thinking that plan out of what this movie would look like in 3D, or what this book would look like in 3D?
Um, yes, let's speak in faith. um, I have thought about it a little bit. That would be pretty amazing if it was a movie. I have no specific actress in mind to play Azere, but for Raphael, I do have the perfect person. I always get his name wrong. His name is Justin. I think his last name is Balduni. I can't remember. I'm so sorry. He plays Raphael in the show Jane the Virgin. And
Mm-hmm.
he's who I envisioned for this part. So he would be perfect. And I would also, my vision would be to include Nigerian actresses and actors. Like I mentioned a Nigerian actor in the book called Patience Ozokwo, who Azere compares with her mother. And I think she would be she would be perfect actually. So I would love to bring in like Nigerian Nollywood actors and actresses. That'd be cool.
You never know. We have a wide range of an audience. You never know who's listening and speak it into existence. So at this point, Jane, when you have a book like this, does it interest you in, say, writing a part two, or would your next novel be a totally different story? Or what are some of your ambitions as a writer, and what would you like to accomplish in, say, like the next 2 or 3 years?
um, I will not be well. as for now, I will not be like, there won't be a part two of Ties That Tether. Like I said before, I wanted to give the reader something to make them feel comfortable and confident in that happy ending. So I think those characters are good, and other characters within that story are also okay. And I'm just happy with where I left them. I'm moving on to another story right now, another book, my second book, which I'm working on edits right now. And yeah, it's gonna be a romance, but with a lot of things infused into it as well, because I love doing that. And I plan to write a lot of romance because that's my favorite genre.
Mhm. We need more romance in our life. I mean,
Yeah.
we see so much. It's cops, it's robbers, it's superheroes, talking animals, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Are we lacking a little romance in society? Do you think that it's trending back? Because we used to have tons of romance in the 90s, and now it's not so
Yeah.
much.
You know what? It's very true. I remember, was it 2 years ago? I can't remember when this movie came out on Netflix. I think Netflix released like two romantic movies a while ago. One with Lucy, I can't remember her name, and Ty Diggs. And it
Mm.
was, I think it was called The Setup or something. And everyone went crazy for that movie. And then they released Always Be My Maybe, which was so cute. And I'm just like, where are all the romance, the rom-coms that everyone made everyone feel good? And I saw a tweet today where someone said, we need a rom-com with Michael B. Jordan. And I'm like, yes, we do. Not just like fighting movies or action. We need like romance. And
Mhm.
I wish people would make more romance movies because it's such a feel good, you know, thing. So
I personally
hopefully,
would love to see Michael B. Jordan in a romantic movie.
me too. Me too.
Mr. Sexiest Man Alive, People Magazine. I'm surprised it took that long for them to name him that.
I know.
He's been sexier for a long time,
He has been.
for
True.
a long, long time. I was so impressed when I was reading about you ahead of us speaking to each other. You've been named like a must watch author. Like people should
Really?
be keeping their eyes on you. When you
Yay.
are moving into a second book, is there a pressure? Does it seem a little easier to map it out since you've gone through the experience or is it a totally clean slate when you approach a second novel?
Funny you say that. I'm in it right now. And I thought it would be easy. But you know what? I think for every story, this story isn't as close to me as Ties That Tether. So I think even though I had to do a lot of edits with Ties That Tether, it just kind of flowed. This story isn't my story, like my personal experiences, but I'm trying to get into the character's head. I'm thinking about people in my life who have similar experiences and trying to relate through that. But I do feel a little bit of pressure. I want everyone to love this story even more than Ties That Tether. I constantly want to improve as an author so people can say, this book was better than her first one. She's a better writer. She's a better storyteller. I constantly want to improve. So perhaps I'm putting that pressure on myself a little bit. But
When the book is finished with Ties That Tether, and I love that title, by the way. I like the
thank
word
you.
tether. That's why I had to wear this because they were tethered. And so I like anything that has to do with tethering. Um, do you go back and read it? It's been long finished and it's on the shelf. Do you go back and revisit it and think, let me just go through it and see what I would have liked to have done differently or gone to a different direction as I move into this new book?
Um, you know what? I take the book and I like read like a few sentences and I'm like, no, don't go any further because I feel like every single author, even the best, will read their published book and say, I wish I could have changed this.
Mm.
And I really don't want to be like, obsessing over something that I can no longer change.
Mhm.
So sometimes I read a little bit and when I feel like, oh, I just close the book. So
Yeah, but
yeah.
they say, what is it like? Something is the thief of joy when you back at old things instead of appreciating the journey. It's like the thief of
Hmm.
joy. So I totally feel that.
Yeah.
What are some authors that inspire you that you've enjoyed just through your course of reading in your life?
Um, I love Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, the author of Americana. She's one of my favorite authors. authors. I think she's brilliant, and her work, Americana, inspired me, and continues to inspire my future work, the ones that I have yet to write. But she inspires like the concept or themes or stuff like that. So I also love fantasy, YA fantasy. So one of my favorite YA authors is Jane Taylor, the author of Strange the Dreamer.
Mm.
She is, I think I've concluded that she is the best author I've ever read. She's exceptional. Yeah.
And so now we are closing the year. We are into the holiday season. What are the big plans? What's going to happen at Jane's house through the holiday season? What's going on?
Who knows? I wish I knew because I don't. This pandemic has really thrown everything out of sorts, and I'm not sure if there's going to be family gatherings. I guess we're just gonna see how things are. Maybe everyone in my family would do like a test before they come over, and then present me with that test, present it to each other, so we know who's safe to hang around with. I don't know, but
That's not a
we'll
bad
see.
idea. A lot of people are
Right?
doing that with weddings. You go through the place where they have the little drive-through test, and then you bring your
Hmm.
result. That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad
Yeah,
idea at all.
yeah.
Jane, I have enjoyed speaking with you so much. It is a lovely novel with rich characters, and I'm so excited to see what your next book brings. I enjoyed this one greatly. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. This was great. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye.
Better shake your booties for black girl nerves. Better shake your booties for black girl nerves.